Morning. Welcome back to Honey Ridge Farm. I'm glad you're back. It's October the 28th. It's 42 degrees outside. It's supposed to get to a high 72 today. I'm out here in the garage trying to get this wood stove to burn. We took this wood stove out of the house and I brought it out here, and I cannot get this thing to draw for nothing. Every time you open the door, it just starts smoking in here. Brand new pipe, all sealed up, will not draw for nothing. I don't know what's going on with it. So if you got any suggestions on how to get my wood stove to draw, leave them in the comments. Wanted to change gears a little bit from what we've been doing as far as videos go. We've been getting into hives, and I know I watched a ton of videos, and just looking, when I watch videos, I want information. I want to know things that people are doing, and maybe I can get something that I can do or that'll apply to my operation or that I can try out. But I'm always looking for information, so hopefully that's what these videos will be. It's cold outside, things are switching, so these videos will be a little more informational hopefully, and have maybe something you can use and something you can apply in your operation. A little bit about what's going on here. The hives are doing good. They're all fed up. I've only got one or two that's questionable. They're doing pretty good. I got sugar blocks on them. About to stop the liquid feed and just doing the sugar blocks, and that's mainly for emergency. They shouldn't need anything. They're good and heavy and should be good to go, but I've been doing some of the sugar blocks just for emergency. People lose hives every year, and one of the reasons we lose hives is they'll starve out, and you don't expect them to eat all that, and they're good and heavy, but sometimes they do, and you can't check them as much in the wintertime, so it doesn't hurt to have some emergency feed on there just in case they need it. But they're all doing good. As far as what's going on around the farm, we've got our remodeling done. We're looking at our honey house and getting it built. We're adding an extension on the garage. We're trying to pay for it. Don't like to go into debt. Like to use the honey operation, the money from that, to finance everything. So with what we made this year on selling, we sold bees. We've sold bees in the form of nukes, sold bees in the form of queens, and we sold honey. So those monies are all going into the honey house. And we're also trying to get creative on other ways to make some money, so we don't have to use any of our savings, and definitely not go into debt for our honey business and build up as we go. But we've got about 12 acres here, and we've cleared some property. Some of the 10 acres was pretty much all wooded. We cleared the front half of it, and we've got some walnut trees. Dad's got a sawmill, so we've sawed them up, and I got some guys coming later on today to look at some of this walnut lumber. Some really pretty lumber. We're gonna try to sell it and use those proceeds to go to the honey house too. And then also looking at taking off some scrap. We're still cleaning up. We've got a lot of metal, not a lot of old cars, but some old cars around the property. And there's an old trailer up on the hill we got to get cleaned up, and just some metal. Just process of cleaning up, but we can take it off. I think scrap prices are pretty high, so we'll take it off and we'll use that toward the honey house too. So that's where we're at. We'll hopefully have some videos, get that built this winter and be ready for spring, and be ready to go as far as that goes, and do some videos in there. Maybe once we get everything taken care of, the necessities, the needs. Want to have, of course, a stainless steel sink, stainless steel tables, waterproof floor. Maybe we get those necessities and things taken care of. We can start looking at things like extractors and things like that, and upgrading some of that stuff. We've got the stuff now to be able to do it, and we can even do, I've been doing this for 23 years, and I was taught by a lot of old guys, and there was one guy, I remember one old guy in particular, he had 100 hives in a 2-frame extractor and did it all. And it's not impossible, it can be done. But it's maybe not the best way to do it, or the way we all want to do it. So, but it can be done. I can use what I got if I have to, but it'd be nice to have some newer stuff, extractor, wax melting tank and a bottling tank and some holding tanks and different stuff. So hopefully we can get that going and make it to where we can maybe make a little more money next year and buy some of those wants instead of just needs. Wanted to talk a little bit this morning about while it's still warming up before I get outside doing stuff about where I've came from. A lot of you know because you've watched the videos, but there's a lot of new people too that don't know the story, our story here. But I've been keeping bees for 23 years. I got up to 50 hives, and I tried to go. I had treated during that time. I had treated and not treated, and kind of went back and forth trying to figure things out, and eventually decided to go treatment free. Bees had survived. I had a bunch of packages in the garage, and but tried to go treatment free, and not just for a year or two. I mean, several years, like a long time. Treatment free. I really tried hard to be treatment free, and was. I figured my hives would get down to a certain point, and they're going to die out, and I would use what's left to build back up and use those genetics and have mite resistant bees. I had 50 hives. I got down, my story is I got down to 1. That's all it was left. I still got that hive going. I've got some genetics off of it, but it's just, in my opinion, impossible to keep bees and not treat at all. I think you can get a certain level of resistance. The way I like to look at it is when you do a mite check, 1% is okay. You might have some hives that are resistant to mites. Maybe they could deal with a 5% and be fine, or maybe some would deal with a 10% and be fine. Is the way I like to look at it, the way I feel now after doing it for a long time. But you never get 100% resistant. If you've got a neighbor that's got bees and that die from mites and they're just infested with them, if I've got a hive that can handle a 10% mite load and they bring back an 80% mite load, they can't handle that. So in my opinion, you got to treat them. Since I've started treating, the bees are a lot more healthy. You can just look at them and see how much more healthy they are. I thought it was wrong to put chemicals in the hive at the time when I was trying to do this, and like I say, it was a long time. So if you're there, I've been there. Now I think it's wrong to not take care of them. If we have dogs and cats and something happens to them, we take them, we give them medicine or do whatever we do to take care of them. It's the opinion that I have now is I'm going to take care of them. I'm going to do whatever I can to take care of them and keep them, get them to live. I'm going to medicate them just like I would a horse or a cow or a dog or a cat or whatever. So I believe it's more responsible to take care of them and give them what they need. It might not be the best thing for them. It might at the time, but it makes them healthy, and it's a whole lot better than dying. And that's what they're going to do. That's just my experience. But that's kind of where we came from. I built back up from this year we've caught probably, I made more swarm traps. All of our bees are from swarms. We got down to 1 hive not this past winter, but the winter before, and built back up with swarm traps. I made 20 swarm traps that winter and caught 20 swarms. So, and then with a few splits here and there, and was able to build up a little bit. And then this past winter, last winter, I made 20 more that were full size. And with the house remodeling and all the stuff going around here and buying a new house and property and all that, wasn't able to keep up with them and keep them baited like I wanted. I think we caught probably 15 swarms or so this year. Out of 35, I was able to get out 35 traps, but just wasn't able to keep up with them as good. So hopefully this year, this winter, or this spring, I'm going to put out 40 traps. I'm going to go back every 2 weeks and bait them and check them. And if I get bees move in, I'll bring them back here and then take them back out, take the empty trap back out and catch another. The year I caught 20 out, there was a lot of that. There were some traps that didn't catch any, but some traps I'd catch a swarm in and bring it back here and unload it and then take that trap out there and put it back up and catch another one. So sometimes you catch 2 or 3 in the same spot. So plan is to do that this year. I got about 40 hives right now. Hopefully get up to about 100. We'll see how it goes. I do try to sell some nukes. Another thing that I've learned through the years in beekeeping is that you have to have more than one revenue source. You know, there's years, I never realized it, but there's years you won't make any honey. There's years that very little or no honey will be made. I never dreamed that, but it is. If you rely totally on honey as a source of income to finance your obsession or hobby, it doesn't always work out. So I always try to sell some nukes. I always try to sell some queens. The genetics are a big thing. Another lesson over the years is that I feel like in our operation, there's 3 things that we need for the bees to survive. It's no secret why bees die. They do a survey every year. They die from mites and their viruses. They die from lack of nutrition, improper nutrition, because we don't feed them as much as we should. And there's hives out there I've got right now that just have a bad queen. I feel like I've got the first 2 kind of taken care of, but this year 2023 is going to be the year to push for genetics and raising our own queens. You know, we work and work and work, and by process of elimination, we have in our own yards, we develop bees, you know, just by survival. You know, the bees that do well in my climate and in this area and the way I keep bees survive, and the ones that don't die. So those genetics are doing it themselves. It's not a conscious effort necessarily. It's just that the good ones survive and the bad ones die off. But a lot of times when we go out and buy a queen, especially not from this area, if we buy one from Georgia or Florida or wherever, we start all over. So we've done some good stuff in our own operations, and you know, I've got bees that put up with the way I manage them. They thrive under the way that I manage them. Some of them do really, really good. Over the years, I've had hives that make 6 or 7 supers of honey and just do great for this area. But then I let that go by the wayside by buying queens from somewhere else when I should have been propagating those genetics. And that's what I plan to do this next year. So I raised some queens this year. It's kind of late in the year when I started. It was probably June or so. I'm going to start a lot earlier this year, raise some really good genetics for the way I keep bees in this local area. And I'll probably sell some too, but I definitely want to get my hives requeened and get some of those good genetics in here. But I think that's a key, you know, over the years of keeping bees, one of the keys is to somehow raise those queens. I'm not saying that you have to graft. I'm not saying that you have to use this technique or that technique. You might just overcrowd a hive and then take out those swarm cells and use them in some other hives. There's a lot of ways to do it. A lot of ways are really simple, but we have to make that effort, I think, to get those genetics from the bees that survive our way of management. A lot of beekeepers do things different ways, and it works. You hear beekeepers say all the time, well, that's what works for me. Well, that's what works for those genetics survive, and that's what's going to work. So if I can have, you know, if I've got 30 hives and 7 of them do awesome, well, I can requeen the other 23, quick math, and requeen those and have 30 to do that good and not just 7. So it's some things we need to do. Like I say, it's no secret why bees die and why hives don't do as good. So we need to use what we know and then work on that and try to improve those things that we can improve on. The best beekeepers that I know and through my own experiences are ones that have went through and persevered through basically disaster. You know, I went from 50 hives down to 1. you learn a lot of lessons that way. Your ego goes to the wayside, your pride goes to the wayside, and you start doing things so that don't happen again. Every beekeeper I talk to, whether they've been keeping bees for a year or 5 years or 10 or 30, this is what works. This is the way to do it. And I know, there's going to be things that work. When I first started beekeeping and I started figuring stuff out, second or third year, I figured some things out, and I thought, man, I got this by the tail. I got it whipped. And I thought I had it whipped, but I didn't. Some things had to happen. Some not so pleasant things happened, and you learn by those mistakes. And sometimes that's the way we have to learn. Beekeeping, there's a steep learning curve, and we sometimes have to take those bruises and knocks and dings and learn the hard way. Wish I didn't. I always say I don't want to learn the hard way. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I want to listen to people, and did too. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people in beekeeping that we all tell our best stories. We all show pictures of our best hives. We don't show our hives that are dying or weak, or the mistakes we made. We don't show as beekeepers. We always show the great stuff. And so sometimes you got to be careful who you listen to, and take it with a grain of salt, because you got to realize that beekeeper is showing you their best. They're not going to show you their worst. It's not, when we get together at bee clubs and compare stories, I don't tell stories about my worst hive. We all tell stories about our best hive, and it's just human nature. But you got to be careful as a beekeeper, because the learning curve is steep. I can't just read a book and do this. I can't just watch a video and do this. I have to do those things. I have to listen to other beekeepers, but I also have to learn from my own experience. And experience is the best teacher. There's things I talk about all the time, and you try to help people, and the goal behind this YouTube channel is to be able to help people, and maybe you guys won't repeat my mistakes, and to help other people. I can help a lot more people like this, but it's a steep learning curve, and there's a lot of things that you just have to know. I can't tell you what time of year to do this. You might be in a different area. Management techniques might be different. There's a lot of things that I just can't. It's not black and white. I can't say, well, on this date do this, or on that date do this, or always do this, or always do that. It's usually, when you're talking beekeeping, it's usually most of the time this happens, or usually it happens this way. But there are some absolutes, but not many. So it's experience is a very good teacher. But anyway, that's where we're at. That's where we've came from, and we're gonna be going down a road of, we'll still show some the bees and get into the bees from time to time. I don't mind getting into the bees at wintertime. A lot of people want to leave the propolis seal unbroken and not pop the top and get in there. I don't think it hurts. Bees heat the cluster. They don't heat the box. Say it over and over and over, but we constantly try to keep the bees like we want our house to be. We try to keep the house warm and all that. That's not necessarily the best thing. They heat the cluster, they don't heat the box. So I don't mind popping the top, don't mind checking on them. Make sure the sugar blocks are okay, make sure the bees are okay. It doesn't hurt anything, because that box is not what they're heating. So anyway, I hope you liked the video. Appreciate you sticking around. If you did like it, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and we'll see you on the next video.